Yo, what's good, people? We are here with part 17 of Chronicon. Hope you're having a brilliant night. Shout outs to archaix, Mr. Bashirs, the author of the Chronicon I'm reading out. Subscribe to his channel. Check out his books. Check out the website, archaix.com. And while you're there, subscribe to the real K-Reno. Go and check out his discography. That's K-Reno. It will blow your brain. Absolutely insane lyricist. In the background, we have this track, Need to Know, from his album Pen Mightier Than the Sword, paying homage to the great K-Reno. Absolutely insane lyricist. Definitely an inspiration of mine, for sure. But without further ado, let us kick off the readout. Alright, guys. Now, in part 16, we mentioned that Methuselah had died before Adam, amazingly. Now, everyone thought Methuselah had lived the longest, but apparently Adam outlived him by 105 years, reaching 1,074 years of age. That's a lot of letters from the Queen. And while we're at it, fuck the Queen. But anyway, let us continue with the readout respectfully. On his deathbed, Adam gathered his sons, and a scribe is brought to record his prophecies. He relates that the flood is coming and will kill everyone but 8 people. He orders that his body is to be buried in the middle of the earth, which is Giza. You can check that in 2815 BC of the Chronicon. Now, this being the prime meridian of the pre-flood world, he commanded that Seth was to carry out this project, his firstborn son of the lineage that would be saved from destruction. Adam gives Seth an ark with holy relics of gold, incense, and myrrh, and declared that God himself had provided these artifacts as signs to mankind in the future. These relics would be preserved on the ark, a ship that would endure the deluge and afterward be placed in a city at the middle of the earth. Though he predicted that the city would be destroyed and plundered after the flood, the relics would be preserved. Until the word of God, made man shall come, and kings shall offer the gold, incense, and myrrh as tokens of his holy divinity. Adam died in the 243rd year of Enoch's reign, the prophet emperor separating himself for long periods of time to be instructed by God about the future of earth. Though news of Adam's death was not known immediately, the inhabitants of the earth knew that something dreadful had happened, because at the same hour, the sun darkened in the daytime. This is the first time in history of any record of the sun darkening, which would not have been the moon, but that of a celestial object transiting between the sun and earth, darkening our world in shadow. Having spent 66 years above the ecliptic, the ancient Earth-killer comet group now begins its 330-year orbit below the ecliptic for a total orbital duration of 396 years, half of Nibiru's orbit. The comet group fractured away from Nibiru, and the 66 years over the ecliptic is exactly 792 months. The 930 years of Adam's life from his banishment till death parallels the length of Anunnaki history from 5239 BC, the beginning of their chronology, to the destruction of the day star in 4309 BC that ended the binary system, destroyed whole planets, and rearrange the entire solar system. Recall that 930 years is the product of both orbital periods of Nibiru, 792, and Phoenix, 138. With Adam's death, God intends to fulfill his promise to his first earthborn son, that he would have an altar erected for him as a sign to all generations that Adam, and by extension humanity, were forgiven. As seen in 2815 BC, this altar is the Great Pyramid. Since the establishment of an Anunnaki matriarch in 3103 BC is now past 138 years, a Phoenix orbit, or 1656 months, 553 times 3. Also, the 148 years of the Mayan calendar is 1,776 months. 1,776 being a number encoded many times within the geometrical measurements of the Great Pyramid and found in timelines throughout history involving the Aramaic Israelite descendants of the Sethite lineage. We jump into 2944 BC here. We speak of Chinese Shu King texts that relates to a man named Fu Hai an Oriental Noah. This anachronism conveys that some ancient Chinese chronicler knew the duration of Noah's life at 950 years, and this chronicler began that 950 years around the start of a calendar that this chronicler had access to, similar to the Annus Mundi, beginning in 3895 BC. This 2944 BC date is 1 year off from 950 years after man's banishment. There is more evidence in this research exhibiting that the early Chinese once had access to accurate ancient chronologies. Alright guys, we're going to stop the goodness there and we will be back tomorrow with more Chronicon, the daily dose of gnosis.